Hi, I'm Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Take a look at this cute quilt behind me. Isn't this adorable? I love this quilt. It's just happy and it's just so cheerful and it's so easy. You're going to love making this. It's just a circle on a square. That's it. It's just so quick and easy. Love this fabric too. This is Glimma by Lotte Jonsdottir and it's for Wyndham Fabrics and it's just adorable. So to make this quilt, you're going to need 2 layer cakes. One layer cake is the background square and one becomes the circle. Just so easy. Also, you're going to need about 1 yard for your border. We used a 4-inch solid, just something to frame your quilt. Obviously, you can do whatever you want. Borders are so personal. So what we want to do is we want to make circles. Now, I have made circles a zillion different ways. I've used the dinner plate, the coffee cup, whatever happens to be the right size that I want. And there's lots of easy ways to do them. One of my favorite is this easy circle cut ruler, which I like to use. And how we're going to attach these circles to the squares is with HeatnBond. So you're also going to need a little bit of HeatnBond, and it comes like this. This is HeatnBond Lite. It comes by the yard, and you can feel it. One side will be very smooth and one side will be lumpy. So before you cut out your circles, we need to iron this on. You want to make sure that you don't iron any of that, the plastic stuff. So I'm going to set this square right on top of my HeatnBond right here. And I like to do it from the front so I can see it. I also like to be very careful and make sure that my iron doesn't touch any of the sticky stuff. There's lots of pressing cloths and things like that you can get out there if you're worried about this at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and iron this down. And this just takes a few seconds. It really doesn't take long. And then I'm going to just get my scissors and cut this out like this. And really all these little pieces that you're cutting off, you can actually use those. It doesn't have to be a solid piece because basically you're just kind of attaching it to the square so that you're going to applique it on with the sewing machine later anyway. So now I'm going to flip this over on the paper side and just really give it a good solid ironing. So I've got a couple more blocks here that I've already ironed the HeatnBond on, and we need to cut circles. Now you can do circles a bunch of ways. You can use plates, cups, anything round will make a circle. I like to use this easy circle cut ruler. It's really handy. It has all the different sizes on it, and it's just one of the ways to cut a circle. And I folded my layer cake in half with my HeatnBond on it. I place my ruler right on here and show the dark line. It'll say fabric fold line, and it shows you exactly where the middle is, and you can do all that. You are going to need a little rotary cutter. This is an 18mm rotary cutter. It's got to fit inside these little grooves right here, and I'm just going to set that down in there. It kind of locks in there. There we go. And then I'm just going to run this around like that. Make sure I got my edges. And easy as that, you've cut your circle. Oh, I have a couple little places that stick. That happens to me because I can't push down very hard with my hand, and so sometimes it leaves just a little bits of thread on there that I don't always get. And that can be alleviated by just doing it twice. So here we have our circle, and we're going to mount it to there. But I have loads of these to cut, and I have sitting here the Sizzix Big Shot, and Sizzix decided to turn our fabric templates into dies. This is a die cut machine, so you can cut loads of circles out with the die cut machine, and I'm going to show you how that's done. I have one piece here, but I'm telling you, you can put 10 pieces of fabric on this machine and it will cut them. So if you are lucky enough to have access to one of these and you need to cut a lot of circles or any other shape for that matter, this is the way to go. So I'm putting my one piece, but you really can put 10 pieces of fabric on there. So you line that up, you lay your fabric on your die cut and put your acrylic sheet over and then your filler sheet, and then you just stick it through here and you start rolling. And it just goes through just like that. And look at this. Ta-da! Perfect circle. So So now all we have to do is applique these circles onto these background squares. So I'll be right back with my sewing machine. So before we applique, we need to iron our circles on. I like to score the back of these with a scissor or a pin and just peel off that paper. It comes off very easily. And then I'm just going to center my circle onto my square right here. Let me put this over here so you can see it. I'm going to lay that there, and I'm just going to eyeball it. You can measure in if you want and make sure it's exact. Either way, I'm pretty good at just eyeballing things. I'm going to move this over here, and I am going to iron this. Basically what we're doing is we're trying to keep that circle in place so that when we sew around it, that it will, it'll just stay where we put it and it'll be in the right spot. Now when you applique, you can use any decorative stitch you want. Some people zigzag, some people straight stitch. I like to use a blanket stitch. And generally what I'll do is I will sew the stitch a little bit, adjust my stitches so I know exactly what I'm looking for and what color I want to see, what size I want to see. And then I just line up my needle and I just let it go. Let the machine do the work. Don't try to force it through. And I just stitch it so it's stitched all the way around. Watch my needle so that it stays right along that edge. And on these big circles, it's so nice because you can just ease it into those curves. All right, now here I am coming upon where they're just gonna join together. I'm almost at the end. There we go. Take a stitch to lock that, and we are done with our applique. Now the fun part about this quilt is that this is only half the blocks. The other blocks are made by, here we go, made by cutting another circle out of the middle. So we have these with our whole block, and then this one with the circle cut out of the middle. And you do that circle exactly the same way. So then when you go to lay them together, you just have blocks. You just put them every other one. So I have a few here. I have this one, and let me see here. Oh, I have a row already sewed. But when you sew these together, let me just go ahead and show you how we do this. So I have this row here, and it's already sewn together for me. But what you need to do is you just lay your two pieces right sides together and do your 1/4 inch seam. And when you get your rows together like this, one of the key elements of sewing a big block quilt like this together is you want your blocks to match up. You don't want these points to be off right here. So when you sew your seam together, your long seam, you want to make sure that these seams match up. So what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to flip this around and lay these seams just exactly together right here. And then I'm going to put a pin in there. I can see how they've nested right together. And if I put a pin at all these junctures, when I go to sew this together, I'm really just going to be able to relax and sew the whole thing because I know those little corners are going to match up. So we want to make sure that these are matched up. If your seams are pressed the wrong way, just go ahead and move them the other direction. You want to reduce bulk and you want to feel that nesting. You want to feel them laying right next to each other. So now that you've got your seams all pinned down, you can just go to the sewing machine and sew that down. Remember, it's just a straight 1/4 inch, and all your little junctures are going to match up perfectly. Now on this quilt, we've put 6 across and 7 down, and you can see all our little junctures match up nicely because that's what you notice on a big block quilt. So we hope you enjoyed this tutorial from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Oh, well, it's a lot more part than I thought. There we go. That was terrible. Okay.